Hello there you guys, welcome to one of my videos. Ralf Rangnick says too early for January plans. ESPN have said recently Rangnick's Man United midfield plan. Calvin Phillips, Amadou Haidara and Jude Bellingham are Ralf Rangnick's key targets. Ralf Rangnick told Manchester United bosses that their midfield is weak in his interview for the job. Now, yesterday, RB Leipzig chef did admit that Ralf Rangnick loves Amadou Haidara. Not so long ago, Rangnick said that he wants Amadou Haidara as his first signing at Manchester United. Amadou Haidara has a £33 million release clause. Rangnick, of course, knows the player well because Rangnick used to manage RB Leipzig. Revert back to the other week, the Manchester Evening News said that Rangnick wants a Timo Werner reunion at Man United. He recently said that Man United have expressed an interest in Rudiger, and around 4 days ago it said Manchester United were interested in John McGinn from Aston Villa. Rangnick has been given a £100 million transfer budget for January. So he should get quite a few players with that. Rangnick, of course, will offload players in January. He said some players are going to go out on loan. Now, the game tomorrow against Norwich will be Rangnick's first Premier League away game as Manchester United manager. So far, he's managed 2 games in all competitions. He's won 1 and he's drawn 1. Ralf Rangnick is Manchester United's interim manager until the end of the season. Then after that, Rangnick will continue in a consultancy role for a further 2 years. If Rangnick does well as the interim manager, there's a chance that he'll get the Man United job on a permanent basis. Before Manchester United, Rangnick was the head of sports and development at Lokomotiv Moscow. I can assure that Manchester United will get a permanent manager at the end of the season. Obviously, Erik ten Hag, he's been linked with the permanent role at Man United. Edwin van der Sar recently spoke about Manchester United's interest in Erik ten Hag, and van der Sar believes Ajax could lose Erik ten Hag in the summer. Revert back to earlier on in the season, it said Erik ten Hag is said to be interested in the Man United job in the summer, and Ajax will not stand in his way if he wants to leave. Revert back to Edwin van der Sar. Edwin van der Sar expects a future role at Manchester United. I'd like to see Edwin van der Sar come back. You know, Edwin van der Sar is a former Man United goalkeeper. He endured 6 years as the Manchester United goalkeeper. Van der Sar is the CEO at Ajax. He's worked as a CEO at Ajax since 2016. Mauricio Pochettino, he's been mentioned a lot, and I still believe that he's the favourite to become Manchester United's next permanent manager. The other week, Roberto Mancini was mentioned, and revert back to earlier on this season, Brendan Rodgers was mentioned. Manchester United have sacked 4 permanent managers since Ferguson. You know, Manchester United sacked David Moyes after 10 months. Then Man United sacked Louis van Gaal after 2 years, despite Man United winning the FA Cup under Louis van Gaal. Then Manchester United sacked Jose Mourinho after 2.5 years. Mourinho did enjoy one good season at Man United because he did win 3 trophies in his first season. The 3 trophies he won in his first season was the Europa League, the EFL Cup and the Community Shield. And over 2 weeks ago now, Manchester United sacked Ole Gunnar Solskjaer following the 4-1 defeat to Watford. Now, Manchester United are going to offload players next year. I recently gave you the news on Anthony Martial. Anthony Martial's agent has confirmed that Anthony Martial wants to leave Manchester United in January. Martial doesn't really get in the team, does he? He's only started 2 games in the league so far this season. Well, Martial's out with injury at the moment. The last game Martial played was the 2-0 win against Villarreal. I was surprised he started that game. Martial started on the left-hand side in that game. Martial has only enjoyed one good season at Man United, and that was his debut season under Louis van Gaal. Martial's been at Manchester United for around 7.5 years. Or should I say 7 years. Martial has got 3 years left on his contract at Man United. Martial has scored 79 goals in 268 appearances in all competitions. Manchester United initially paid a fee of 36 million for Martial, but it rises up to around 57 million with add-ons included. Edinson Cavani, I think he's leaving next year. Edinson Cavani is interested in making a move to Barcelona. Barcelona are keen on signing Edinson Cavani in January, but only for a modest price. Cavani's not available at the moment. He's out with injury. He had an injury earlier on this season. Cavani's contract at Man United expires next summer. Revert back to May, Cavani signed a 1-year contract extension. Cavani initially lost his place in the team with the club re-signing Ronaldo last summer. Manchester United got Cavani on a free transfer from PSG, and this season is Cavani's 2nd full season at Man United. Jesse Lingard, I think he's also leaving next year. I'm hearing that Newcastle are preparing a contract offer for him. Revert back to earlier on in the season, it said West Ham want to re-sign Jesse Lingard. Well, at the second half of last season, Lingard enjoyed a 4-month loan spell with West Ham and he made an impact. I heard as well earlier on this season that Lingard was interested in going abroad. The BBC said earlier on this season that Jesse Lingard's future at Man United is in doubt after talks over a new contract collapsed. His contract at Man United expires next summer. If Man United sell Lingard in January, they'll get around £10 million. It's better to get something for him rather than let him go on a free. Lingard's only started 2 games this season. That was the game against Young Boys recently, and he started against West Ham in the Carabao Cup, so reflecting on that, he doesn't really get in the team. But Lingard has been part of the club for a long time, risen up our academy. He's had his good periods at Man United, he's also had his bad periods. Juan Mata, I think he's also leaving the club next year. Mata's contract at Man United expires next summer. Because revert back to earlier on in the year, Juan Mata signed a 1-year contract extension. Mata recently played in the 1-1 draw with Young Boys. It was the first game he'd played in a while. Juan Mata's been a long-serving player at Man United. He's been at Manchester United for 8 years. He's had a good career at Man United. He's made over 200 appearances in all competitions and he's scored over 50 goals. Man United got Juan Mata from Chelsea back in 2014 for 40 million. We brought him in under the David Moyes era. Nemanja Matic has a good chance that he'll leave the club next year. Matic isn't one of our first choice midfielders, but despite that, he's still being given his opportunities. And surprisingly enough, he's been ahead of Van der Beek in our midfield. Matic is the only predominant centre defensive mid we've got. He started against Young Boys recently, did Matic. Surprisingly, he started as a centre-half. I can't see him being put as centre-half again. He wasn't that good against Young Boys. He gave the ball away a lot of times. I've always had my reservations about Matic because he's always been a slow midfielder and he's aging up, but he has had his good games at United. Matic has been at Manchester United for 4.5 years or 5 years now. Man United got Matic from Chelsea back in 2017 for 40 million. Donny van der Beek, there's a good chance that he'll be leaving next year. The only way he will be persuaded not to leave, and that's if he gets the opportunities he's been demanding under Ralf Rangnick. Van der Beek did recently start in the 1-1 draw against Young Boys. He was playing in an unfamiliar role. He was the holding midfielder against Young Boys and he put a good performance out, apart from the mistake he made for the Young Boys equaliser. But revert back to when we had Solskjaer, Van der Beek did not get enough opportunities, and reflecting on that, Van der Beek was very frustrated. Van der Beek's only scored 2 goals for the club and he's been at Manchester United for over 1.5 years now, and this season is his second full season at Man United. Man United got Van der Beek for 40 million with add-ons included. He's got a contract with Man United till 2025. There's an option of a further year. Van der Beek's versatile. He can play in 3 different roles. Pogbino, if he leaves next year, he'll leave next summer. He won't leave in January, midway through the season. Pogba's set to return from Dubai, isn't he? Ralf Rangnick has confirmed that in his press conference, I think. Pogba's still unavailable at the moment because he has got a thigh injury. He's been out with his thigh injury for a while. He's out for the rest of the year. Pogba suffered the thigh injury in France training earlier on in the season, but he has been a big miss for Man United because revert back towards the start of the season, Pogba did well. Pogba's got 7 assists so far in the league this season. And he produced good performances for Man United in the last couple of months of last season, but at one point last season he was out with a thigh injury for a while. As you all know, Pogba's current contract at Man United expires next summer. Revert back to the start of this season, Pogba rejected a new Man United contract offer. Our second choice fullbacks, Tellez and Delors, could leave next year, and I think Jones and Bailly will leave next year, and Dean Henderson has confirmed that he wants a loan move away from Man United next year. Dean Henderson doesn't really get in goal, does he? Because revert back to last summer, De Gea reclaimed that number 1 spot back. Henderson was in goal for the game against Young Boys recently. That was only his second appearance this season. Revert back to earlier on in the season, Henderson was out with COVID for a while. At one point last season, though, Henderson got the number 1 jersey, didn't he? And he did well in a lot of the games he was in goal for last season, so there you go. Manchester United have got very, very good players, and I'm convinced we're going to get the best out of these group of players now under Ralf Rangnick. You know, we put a very good team performance out against Crystal Palace last weekend. It weren't a very good performance against Young Boys recently, but as you all know, Rangnick heavily rotated in that game against Young Boys. The reason he did that is because it was a meaningless game, because Manchester United are already in to the last 16 of the Champions League. But, you know, look at the players we've got. You know, we've got the best player in the world overall in Cristiano Ronaldo. Ronaldo didn't play any part against Young Boys recently. He played last weekend against Crystal Palace. He had his chances in that game, Ronaldo, but he couldn't convert them, unfortunately. Well, prior to the game against Crystal Palace, you know, there was reports saying that Ronaldo was a major doubt for the game, because it said that Ronaldo was suffering from a knee issue that I said he got in the 3-2 win against Arsenal when he was celebrating. Ronaldo did get a brace against Arsenal, including the winner from the penalty. Ronaldo now has 801 goals in his career, and he has 12 goals for Man United in all competitions since he re-signed. Ronaldo's got back-to-back awards as well since he re-signed, because Ronaldo got named Player of the Month for October, and revert back to September, he got named Premier League Player of the Month. Ronaldo's won over 30 trophies in his playing career, including 5 Ballon d'Ors. Ronaldo's got a contract with Man United till 2023. There's an option of a further year. Ronaldo receives 480 grand a week, so he's the highest earner at Man United at the moment. Ronaldo wears a number 7 shirt, and Man United got Ronaldo for 19.8 million with add-ons included. Man United paid around 12.8 million up front. Mason Greenwood, you know, he's also a talented player. You know, come back not so long ago, you know, Mason Greenwood scored a very good volley against Young Boys recently. Greenwood came on against Crystal Palace last week, and he got the assist for the Fred goal. Greenwood was out for a while, don't forget, with COVID. At one point, Greenwood went a while without scoring, but despite that, Greenwood's been an absolute revelation since he broke into our senior squad. Greenwood made his senior debut for Man United back in 2019. He's been a United player since the age of 7, so he's been part of the club for a long time, and last season Greenwood signed a new 4-year contract. Well, most of the time, as you've noticed, when Greenwood starts, he plays on the right wing. There again, he's played up top quite a few times before. Jadon Sancho, I think he's a good player as well, and since Solskjaer got sacked, Sancho's really improved. You know, he obviously didn't play any part against Young Boys recently, but he played against Crystal Palace last weekend, put a very good performance out in the first half, but he weren't that good in the second half. He faded away in the second half, didn't he? Sancho weren't too bad in the 3-2 win against Arsenal. He played really well in the 1-1 draw with Chelsea in the 2-0 win against Villarreal, because he scored in both of them games. Sancho has scored 2 goals for the club so far. Revert back to when Man United had Solskjaer, though. We weren't getting the best out of Sancho, because obviously Solskjaer was persistently playing him out of position, and there was quite a few games that Sancho didn't even play in when we had Ole. But it's good to see that Sancho's starting to settle in now. Sancho did endure 4 good years at Dortmund before he came to Man United. Man United got Sancho in a deal worth 78 million, with add-ons included. Man United paid around 73 million up front. Sancho's got a contract with Man United till June 2026. There's an option of a further year. Marcus Rashford, I think he's a good player overall, but he's endured poor games at Manchester United and he's been poor recently. I thought Rashford was poor against Palace last week. His decision making was poor. His movement and at times was good and he did get some good runs in behind, but apart from that, very poor. He weren't that good against Arsenal the other week, but he still managed to get an assist in that game. He was pretty good in the second half in the 1-1 draw with Chelsea, to be fair, but, weren't that good in the first half. Rashford was playing up top alongside Sancho in the 1-1 draw with Chelsea because Ronaldo started on the bench in that game. At one point, Rashford was out with a shoulder injury for a while, wasn't he? And at one point, he had to have an operation on his shoulder. Rashford has been part of the club for a long time. He's been a United player since the age of 7 and he's been in our senior squad since 2016. And he's got a contract with Man United until 2023. Like I mentioned, Cavani's a good player. Bruno Fernandes, he's an exceptional player as well. Despite him being an exceptional player though, Fernandes has endured his poor games this season. There again, he's had a lot of games where he's been consistent. Fernandes starts the vast majority of Manchester United's games, so reflecting on that, he will become fatigued. Fernandes obviously didn't play any part against Young Boys recently. He played last weekend against Crystal Palace. Had his chances in that game just like Ronaldo did, but couldn't convert them. Fernandes obviously scored in the 3-2 win against Arsenal. The build-up to that goal was immense. Fernandes is one of our best players and he's certainly one of the best signings we've made since Fergie retired, isn't he? We got Fernandes from Sporting Lisbon back in January 2020. Fernandes has been a United player for almost 2 years. Revert back to earlier on this season, Fernandes made it clear that he wants to stay at Man United and he will not let the Man United... When he first came to Man United, he said, "I've come to Manchester to win trophies." Fernandes has got a contract with Man United till 2025. There's an option of a further 12 months. Donny van der Beek, like I've said, he's a good player, but haven't had a great deal of a perception on him at Manchester United. Fred, I've been really, really impressed with him in recent weeks. Fred played very well against Crystal Palace last weekend, scored a stunning goal late on. Wasn't only the goal why he was good against Palace, his overall performance was good, his pressing was good, his movement was good, his passing was good. So there you go. Fred did well in the 3-2 win against Arsenal because he got an assist in that game and he won the penalty because he got brought down by Martin Odegaard, and he did well in the 1-1 draw with Chelsea. So I'm hoping Fred can continue with these good performances and then my perceptions will start to change on him. I don't think he's that good of player overall because he's enjoyed a lot of poor games as a United player. Manchester United got Fred for 50 million from Shakhtar Donetsk. Man United got Fred a few years ago now. We've got Alex Telles. That's a good left back. Telles started Man United's last 4 games prior to the game against Young Boys. Telles was only starting them games though because Luke Shaw wasn't available. Luke Shaw was out with a concussion. Luke Shaw made his return against Young Boys recently. But Telles, I said he's undroppable, didn't I? I said that after the 1-0 win against Crystal Palace. Earlier on this season, Telles had an injury. The reason Manchester United brought Telles in was to provide competition for Shaw. Man United got Telles for 15.4 million with add-ons included. Luke Shaw, He's a good left back overall, but hasn't really proven how good he can be this season. I think when he's been fit this season, he's been very poor in a lot of games, and I'm shocked in that aspect because last season Luke Shaw was superb. Luke Shaw did well though against Young Boys recently on his comeback, got forward well, got in some good positions, and he actually got the assist for the Mason Greenwood goal. I'm sure as the season goes on, Luke Shaw will regain his form. Luke Shaw's been at Manchester United for 7.5 years now, is it? So he's been a long-serving player, still our first choice left back. Been our first choice left back for a while. Luke Shaw's got under 2 years left on his contract. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, I think he's a good right back defensively, but the attacking side of his game is not so good. There's aspects of Bissaka's game that's got to improve. He's got to get forward more, his positioning has to improve, and his crossing has to improve a bit more. Bissaka obviously played against Young Boys recently. He was poor, his positioning was poor, he was partly to blame for the Young Boys equaliser, and he went off injured at the end of the game. Now, reflecting on that, Bissaka is a doubt for the game against Norwich, I heard. Bissaka missed Manchester United's last 2 league games. Obviously, Delors played instead. Diego Delors is good when he wants to be. Delors has done well in the last 2 league games he started. Last season, Delors had a loan spell with AC Milan, and reflecting on that, he gained some experience. Man United got Delors from Porto for £19 million. Rafael Varane, he's a good centre-half. He's out with a hamstring injury at the moment. It's the second injury he's endured at Man United, because revert back to earlier on this season, Varane had a groin injury and he was out with that groin injury for a few weeks. But before he got these injuries, he did well in quite a few of the games he was involved in for Man United. I think Varane will be back soon. Manchester United got Varane for around 34 million. That's what we paid up front. With add-ons, it risen to 41 million. Varane's got a contract with Man United till 2025. There's an option of a further year. Varane to Man United was official just before kick-off against Leeds, which was the opening day. Varane is regarded as one of the best centre-halves in the world. He's highly experienced and he's got a good pedigree behind him as a player, because look what he won when he was at Real Madrid. Eric Bailly, he's a good centre-half as well. Bailly did play against Young Boys recently and he put a very, very good performance out. He made some good blocks and some good clearances. It was Bailly's 5th appearance this season in all competitions. Bailly doesn't get in the team much. He lost his place in the team a while ago, obviously with the club signing Varane last summer. And obviously Lindelof has been preferred to Bailly. Don't ask me why, because Bailly is a far superior centre-half to Lindelof. My concern about Bailly is injury prone. Towards the end of last season, Bailly signed a new contract with Man United till 2024. There's an option of a further year. He's been at Manchester United since 2016. Bailly, we paid around £30 million for him from Villarreal back in 2016. Lindelof's not a good defender overall, but he's impressed me in recent games, to his credit. Lindelof did well against Crystal Palace last weekend. And David De Gea, he's a very, very good goalkeeper as well. This season, he made up for the mistakes he made before. De Gea obviously wasn't in goal for the game against Young Boys recently, but he was in goal last week against Palace. He had very little to do. He was only called into action from long-range efforts. Like I said, revert back to last summer, De Gea reclaimed the number 1 spot back, as last summer De Gea decided to cut short his holiday by 2 weeks to fight for the starting place, as it did mention that De Gea is determined to fight for his Man United future. He's been a long servant. De Gea this season is his 11th season at Man United, so he's been with us since the Ferguson era. De Gea's won everything domestically at the football club. He's made over 500 appearances in all competitions. De Gea's got under 2 years left on his contract and he receives around £375,000 a week. And I think Anthony Elanga looks a good asset for the first team squad. He played against Young Boys recently, came on against Palace last weekend. He doesn't really get in the first team much though, does he? I did say a while ago that Amad Diallo looks a good asset for the first team squad. I expected Amad Diallo to be in the first team more than he has, reflecting on what Man United paid for him at the end of the day. Man United got Amad Diallo in a deal worth 37 million with add-ons included. Man United paid around £19 million up front. So there you go. So anyway guys, that's everything to update you with. Drop your comments, likes below on the channel if you do consider subscribe as always, and take care. God bless. See you all again very, very soon.